Today we're going to take a look at how to add some depth to our dialogue, because oftentimes when we write and we actually do the parts that we talked about first after identifying the dialogue, and we have gone into our piece and we have put the quotation marks around the words that are spoken, and then we have hit enter and created paragraphs, what often happens is we realize that we have a lot of dialogue. And so what we're going to do is take a look at a couple of different ways that writers will add some balance into their dialogue. I tend to say that you should have about, I don't know, 2/3 non-dialogue and about 1/3 dialogue. That is by no means any sort of formula that anyone uses. My biggest goal is to make sure that you aren't just sitting with pages of dialogue and nothing else. What the dialogue does is allows your reader to hit one of your 5 senses, and that is simply the sense of hearing. If I were standing in the room and I saw these two people talking, this is what the words are saying. But what you wouldn't be telling me as the writer is what are they doing? How are they saying this? What tone or inflection are they using? What type of room are they in? What other senses do I see? Not see, but what other senses are being used in this situation? And so what we're going to do is take a look at a text that I wrote that's just all dialogue. And I am going to show you a couple of different ways to add to it. Okay, let's read this first. And why do you think that's a good idea? My bestie asked. Because I saw it on YouTube and it looked fun. Duh, I replied. Seriously, that's your reason? I'm going to need more than that. How about I've always wanted to learn how to ride my skateboard and down this big hill ending in a 180-degree turn off a ramp at the end? Seems like a great place to start, I said. Yep, that sounds smart. Good luck. Now, what you got was you had the inflection of my voice, but really nothing in here told you to do that. So here's what we're going to take a look at. If you open your resource journal to page 94, there is a chart that talks about different ways that writers will add to dialogue to help balance it so that there's the dialogue, which is good, and there is also this other element of how are they saying it? Where are we? What gestures is someone using? And so what you see is there's 3 different colors here. There's one way to add is to talk about what the character is thinking or feeling during the conversation. So what's going through someone's head? Like, I can't believe they were asking me this. Why did they think that they needed to say this? Or I was terrified out of my mind. Anything that is thinking or feeling that's going on inside of a character that I wouldn't know unless the writer let me know. Another way to do this is what does the character see or hear, or using those 5 senses during the conversation. So if they're talking about the food cooking and they could smell the spaghetti sauce on the stove, they could hear the bubbles of it and see the splatter all over the stove, or that you could hear whimpering in the background, or something along those lines that makes the dialogue more real. It makes me connect and care a little bit more about your characters. And the third way is, how is the character saying this? A lot of times the word said is the best word, but sometimes it's, how did they say it? Did they say it like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea? Or are they going to be like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea? Because each of those, one is like said, and one is probably they said it incredulously, or they said it in a mocking tone, or they said sarcastically, or they said, so you want to be able to identify that for your reader. So again, your reader is hearing the conversation the way that you, the writer, are intending for us to do that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use this, and I'm going to try to add one of each of these. Okay. You can do this however works best for you, and sometimes you don't need to do it to every single line of dialogue. Okay, you can see in this example right here, one of the lines of dialogue, Mom is going to be so mad I would hate to be you right now. I didn't add anything there because it didn't necessarily need it. So it doesn't have to happen on every single line of dialogue, But I would try to add it in, I wouldn't have more than 2 or 3 lines of dialogue with nothing. And then remember that golden rule of 3, if nothing else. But anything you can do to make your reader read it the way that you want him or her to read it is going to enhance your piece and make it exactly as you're wanting. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a look at my text that I just wrote, and we're just going to work on line by line. You can see already I've paragraphed it out. So I know that there's 2 different people having a conversation. I know one is talking like, can't believe that the other one is going to do this, and the other one is like, well, I saw it on YouTube, so it must be right. Okay, so let's take a look. And why do you think that's a good idea? My bestie asked. So here I'm thinking about the fact that if I am going to say that to someone, I'm probably going to be like, and why do you think? So I may even underline the word why because I want to emphasize that. And again, as the writer, anytime you change the look of the text for your reader is going to emphasize that word differently because it looks different than all the other words on the page. Okay, so this one I think I'm just going to add the word incredulously, which I cannot spell, so we're all going to nod and smile. Incredulous. I don't even know how to pretend to spell this word. Incredulous. So we're going to just pretend that that's how we do this. I know this is not spelled correctly. Oh my goodness, the teacher doesn't know how to do something. I know, right? But that's okay because I have my computer to help me. And so I'm going to make sure that when I type this in that I get this word spelled correctly. Okay. Asked incredulously because it's an adverb. It's describing the way that it was asked. So incredulously means kind of like if you read any of the Harry Potter books, Hermione talks to Ron and Harry in an incredulous way. She's like, really? Are you kidding me right now? Okay. So it's kind of that way of like, sure thing, friend. Yeah, you do that. Or like a you're not very smart sometimes kind of way. So my bestie's going to ask this, and why do you think that's a good idea? My bestie asked incredulously. Because, and then again, punctuation is for your reader more than the writer, because this tells me that this isn't a sentence yet, but it is a long pause. And so what it does is as a reader, I'm showing you, hey reader, I want you to pause here and then continue the statement. So that's what punctuation does for your reader. Sidebar. Duh, I replied. So I think here I'm going to go with what my character is thinking. I'm picturing this character as like, oh my goodness, I guess it's could not. I could not believe she was asking me this. She had seen the same video I had, and it was awesome. Okay, so now what I've done is I'm showing my reader, my bestie knows exactly what I'm talking about because she was there when we watched this video, and now I think I'm going to go ahead and go do that. So far I've done the how did the reader say, or how did the person in the text say this? And then I've also done what am I thinking about while this is happening? Okay, seriously, that's your reason? I'm going to need more than that. So now let's try the other one. See her here. So I'm going to describe, I think, the way that she's looking at me during this conversation, because I can just envision this character standing there staring at this person, kind of head leaned forward, eyes wide, mouth agape, just going, are you kidding me right now? Okay, so she stared at me wide-eyed, hands, I'm like trying to picture her going like, are you kidding me? Hands raised in disbelief. Now, again, all of this doesn't mean this is how it's going to be. It just gives you another way to be thinking about it. Another way to do this is to talk to someone else and be like, where are you wondering what my character is doing? She stared at me wide-eyed, hands raised in disbelief. How about I've always wanted to learn how to ride my skateboard, and down this big hill with a 180-degree turn off a ramp at the end seems like a great place to start, I said. I think I'm going to also do this. She's going to be shaking her head. Should have used different colors for what I'm doing, but that's okay. Shaking my head in return. I'm wondering if I could add something else in here. Let's see, how is this being said? Okay, I think I'm going to say shaking my head in return. I was going to do this. I could do this. Skateboard stardom was in my future. Okay, so, and then she's going to be like, yep, that sounds smart. Good luck. And so I think I'm going to go back to what she's going to do, because I feel like she's going to just kind of be like, I feel like she's almost just going to walk away and be like, really? Okay. So maybe she's going to say this. I need to change that to a comma. She said, how is she going to say this? She's going to say this in a certain way. I'm not sure yet, so I'm just going to leave a blank there, because I know that I need a way that she's going to say this, because it needs to kind of be this almost sarcastic, like, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. But I'm not exactly sure what those words are going to look like yet. So I'm just going to draw a line for now. She said blank as, I'm going to put a word how under here so that I remember what I want to do. As she lowered her hands in retreat. Is that the best word? I don't know if that's the word I want. So I'm going to circle that word. Defeat. I don't know what word I'm going to use there. She lowered her hands in defeat and turned to leave the room. Okay, so now let's take a look at what this is going to be, and then you're going to give this a try. Why do you think that's a good idea? My bestie asked incredulously. Because I saw it on YouTube and it looked fun. Duh, I replied. I could not believe she was asking this. She had seen the same video I had and it was awesome. Seriously, that's your reason? I'm going to need more than that. She stared at me wide-eyed, hands raised in disbelief. How about I've always wanted to learn how to ride my skateboard, and down this big hill ending in a 180-degree turn off a ramp seems like a great place to start, I said, shaking my head in return. I was going to do this. I could do this. Skateboard stardom was in my future. Yep, that sounds smart. Good luck, she said somehow, as she lowered her hands in retreat and turned to leave the room. Now you are going to do one of two things in your own writing. The first thing that you're going to go do, if you have a lot of dialogue but not a lot of the descriptive part in here, you're going to use page 94 as well as these examples, and you're going to add some things the characters are thinking, feeling, how it's being said, or what I would see if I were in the room with them. Okay, so that's the first thing. Maybe you need to add some of this. The second thing is, if you already have a lot of this in your text, it's not just a lot of dialogue, you have some of that balance, I want for you to get 3 different colors and take a look and see if you are balancing the 3 different elements. Do you have some things that the character is thinking, some things that the characters see here, etc., and sometimes how this is being said, and just check for balance in that regard. So either you're adding this stuff in or checking to see if this stuff is already balanced in your own writing, because you need all of this in order to help your reader see the picture the way that you envision the picture as the writer. And remember, who should always be in control? The writer. Okay, happy balancing.